I'm Brian Gregory. I'm Policy Director of the Alliance of British Drivers. And with me is my Communications Director colleague, Paul Naylor.
Hello, everybody. Yes, we've got a very special guest today returning to us. We've had him once or twice before on the show. Yes. Always a pleasure to have him. Howard Cox from FairFuelUK. Hi, Howard.
Hi, Howard. And welcome again.
Hello, good friends, and it's great to be with some kindred spirits at last.
Absolutely.
I've walked a pathway of various, and I've come out with a lot of knives in my back over the last 2 or 3 years. And
okay, so you had your head in the lion's mouth.
You got it in one, but I'm still alive and still here, and 17 years of FairFuelUK. We're still on board, and it's still causing some ructions. And I've been cancelled by some very good people as well, and good media and stuff. I've got all the badges.
Yeah, then you know who your real friends are.
Yeah, exactly.
If you were a Cub Scout, you'd have had all the badges, wouldn't you? That's
exactly.
Yeah,
I've got me woggle.
That's So, what's been going on in the world of Howard Cox? There seems to be a lot been going on since we last spoke.
Yeah, it's been a difficult time. You probably know. I mean, I haven't moved my politics from anywhere. I've been a devout Thatcherite all my life, and and to cut a long story short, you know what happened. That Reform asked me to, I was a friend or a good friend of Nigel's, and not so much now. But Nigel asked me to stand, and same with Richard Tice asked me to stand as London Mayor.
Yeah,
I took a few months to say yes. I knew I wouldn't win. But I thought we could get some sort of, the whole point I joined, because bear in mind, it's just like you guys, FairFuelUK is apolitical. And yes. I wouldn't join any party in that respect, but because of the ULEZ shit, sorry, can I allow to say that?
Yeah,
we'll get Charlotte to, sort of smooth over if necessary.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Tell me what it is.
Yeah, the ULEZ stuff, and obviously that's why I came in on it to bring that to the attention, and I obviously didn't do that well. I Reform seemed to like me, etc. And I stood down in Dover and came second there after 3.5 weeks, and with 23% of the vote. If I'd had another 3.5 weeks, I think might have actually nicked it. I might have been sitting on the green bench. Who knows? That's the sliding doors of life, as we all know. Absolutely. But the thing is, what was really upset me is how Reform moved away from where I thought they were good, strong centre-right to what I believe now part of the establishment, which is a bit sad. Yeah. And as you probably know, Dan Wharton interviewed me and asked me my opinions of a guy called Tommy Robinson. And all I said, on that public broadcast on Dan's show was he should get credit for the child rape gang issue that he's highlighted for a decade. And that's all I knew of him. And then I got messages from Nigel and Richard Tice to say, if you continue to speak positively about Tommy Robinson, you'll be expelled from the party. And bear in mind, I just stood for them in London mayoral election, and also down in Dover. And on the day of the London mayoral election, when I was up in Westminster, the ballot box, putting my vote for myself in the Westminster Hall, not one Reform leadership person was there from headquarters, not one. I didn't even have anyone from an iPhone taking a picture of me doing that. The only person that did turn up was a guy called Rupert Lowe, and that's where my friendship grew with Rupert. And I've always pulled his leg because I never supported Southampton, being a Crystal Palace fan, so we had a good laugh about that. But Rupert is the most honourable, nicest person you ever meet, and he probably echoes 80% of the country's needs at the moment. And the way he was treated by Reform, he's got dementia. They accused him of bullying. They accused him of abusing Mohammed Zia Youssef. All sorts of things are going on, and like that. I suddenly the writing was on the wall for me, and I at that point also decided, well, who is this guy, Tommy Robinson? And I visited him in prison. I spent 2 hours with the guy. And of which he spoke for 96% of the conversation. And I talk a lot, but I couldn't get a word in edgeways. But he was inspirational. He really was. He's rough around the edges, yes. But Christ, aren't we all? in that respect. And so from that point of view, so that's where I decided to leave. I didn't get expelled. I left, and I got to know a guy called Ben Habib very well, who was previously deputy leader of Reform.
We've had Ben on the show. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Ben's a good friend, and and he asked me to join his party, and I went on to his college and all that sort of thing, and I really had hopes for Advance UK. I really did. I thought so, but he asked Rupert to join. Rupert set up his movement, at that point, Restore Britain movement, and Advance UK was a political party. And I decided to stay with the political party because that's the only one that actually people vote for. You don't vote for a movement.
No.
So at that point, though, and there's a lot of I'm privy to a lot of private stuff which I can't reveal, but fundamentally, Rupert and Ben didn't see eye to eye, not as friends, they're good friends, but the way to develop the centre-right new sort of opposition to Labour and another choice instead of Reform. So I got to know them, went through that process, but recently, as you probably know, Ben decided to close the party, and he put it into hibernation, basically. And then at that point, I was getting bombarded from people saying, what do I think, about where are you going, Howard? I became a bit politically homeless at that point. And I was no way I'm going back to the Tories. I just couldn't bring myself.
No.
Most of them are in Reform anyway. And and anyway, Rupert contacted me. He said, let's have a meet. And we had a meet and talked about it. My big worry, and I think you've got probably videos of this, is that obviously there was a lot of ethnic nationalists in their party, in Restore, surrounding Rupert. And I know for a fact that there's not a racist bone in Rupert's body. I promise you that is not. And that's what stopped me from joining him initially. But then when I saw what Elon Musk was saying, John Cleese now, we got Paul Minnie-Hain, we got Henry Bolton, we got Sammy Woodhouse, all good, mature heads now coming into the party. And Rupert convinced me, he said, come and be another one of those heads. You've got an incredible track record, Howard, of what you've done, which I was, flattered by. But I said, okay, but the only thing I will do is come into this is if when you're standing on the green benches, you shout from the rooftops for the motorist. If you do that, Rupert, I've got a load of people like the Alliance of British Drivers. I mentioned to you guys, the Motorcycle Action Group, and others that I stay in contact with, would love to see you as a conduit for getting the message across in Parliament. And I know you guys would support that. And then that's when Rupert said, how would you like to be our transport spokesman? And I said, well, I don't know anything about planes or ships or trains.
You can't do any worse than the people who are currently dealing with those things.
Exactly. But actually, I do know a fair bit. You probably noticed I put out and 86,000 people responded to me producing a long-term road user strategy policy. And he loved that. I'm nearly finishing that, and I want you guys to contribute to that. I'll send you details of that, and basically what your
I've already got the first module of the road safety program, which I can send you that. It covers
Well, I can put that in there and they say this is from Alliance of British Drivers. I'm really not proud. I really mean that about what goes. The important thing is we still got masses of anti-driver policies going to be thrust upon us. And as you know, the cash cow label, we still got that. And then we got the 2030 ban. You still got that stupid Heidi Alexander said we're keeping that because they think it's a good thing, even though most of Europe have moved from that. They're relabeling it by saying they're trying to get 90% free of carbon, which is, again, it's a stupid thing, but at least they're open to the fact that they're not going to ban the production, the sale of new diesel and petrol cars. It'll
move again.
So these are the big things. Then there's the 20-mile-an-hour limit and all the other stuff. We can go on forever, can't we? Can go on forever.
No, absolutely. And all that's happening is what is driving the policies of the left is the desire to actually reduce everyone's freedom of mobility. That's what it's all about. It's about command and control. It's got nothing to do with road safety, got nothing to do with environment. They're just convenient pegs to hang their arguments on, because when you start scratching below the surface and looking at their arguments, there's no scientific sound basis for any of them. But we need to improve air quality. Well, we've got the best air quality we've ever had. Air quality, urban outside air quality in London is one of the best in the world. I think there's it's 100 and something major cities, World Health Organization have looked at air quality. The best is Canberra in Australia, and that was 120 something, I can't remember. We're 89th, so and the bottom is the best. And then places like Chad in Somalia or wherever the heck it is, that's the worst air quality in the world. Nearly as bad as the air quality on the tube, actually.
Well, that's what I was going to say. And yet Saddam Hussein is encouraging people to go into the tube station, and tourists are coming over here being absolutely bombarded by particulates. And
yes,
as you know, I supported a couple of whistleblowers about that as well.
Yes.
And but I'm also hearing there's more asbestos still down there. So
there was a recent tribunal, unfair dismissal tribunal, that found in the guy's favour. And it was
that's one of my whistleblowers.
Iron, all the stuff that abrades from the tube, and people are breathing it in at very high concentrations, much higher than the outside. Go and stand at a traffic lights in, I don't know, Green Park or somewhere, in the West End. The air quality is brilliant. But
as you probably remember, I did a thing for about 3 years ago.
You took the meter down.
Yeah, 14 tube stations. I stood up roadside and then down on the platform. And the average in terms of particulates was 4,000% worse down at platform level. And that doesn't include, you think about the tunnels, etc. themselves. In terms of their workers working in them,
Yes. This was one of those guys who won his unfair dismissal tribunal, because he said that it should be, customers should be made aware of just how dangerous air quality is on the tube, and of course they sacked him, and then they lost his. He went for unfair dismissal, and they found in his favour.
Well, Brian, I helped him. That's one of my whistleblowers. There's two of them. So I know him well, and I'm working with him still again. And thank God he won that. But it didn't. It caused so much personal. It took 2.5 years. Out of his life, and it affected his health himself. And I did a video with photographs of them covered in black muck and shit and everything. Yeah. So they were basically there to remove particles and dust. And that's the point. We're in a situation now where we've got to get the message right across. There's two aspects of this. In fact, before I get onto the two aspects, there's this little matter of certain things that happen in the Treasury. And even now, we heard recently, didn't we? I can't remember his name now. One of the ministers saying, how much more can we get out of taxpayers to pay for benefits?
Yeah.
And the top of their list is drivers. How much more can we still...
And the retired, relatively well-off people, pensioners, comparatively well-off pensioners, so that they can soak them more to give to the flagrant spenders and single family that have children as a sort of career.
Absolutely right. But the two issues that we've got to get across in Parliament is one is, but we're not cash cows. We are the commercial heartbeat and the social heartbeat of the economy, because people, the little matter, I won't let my family go into London. I live near London. I'm an hour away from it on the train. I go up there quite regularly, and I've seen, 4 or 5 people standing outside Charing Cross of dubious origin, looking at people holding their phones, which one they can nick. And they're on electric scooters and electric bikes and things like that. What raised the pounce, and it's scary now. I won't let Jenny, my wife, or my daughter Lexi, as you know, she drives a HGV 44-ton truck, if you remember rightly. But she's quite nervous. And the second thing, which in terms of commercial and social heartbeat, is to actually recognise that we shouldn't be seen, and drivers should be seen as a positive way for growth.
Absolutely.
And we can go on forever about, we look at inflation has gone up this from 2.6 to 2.9. Usually the next sentence is because of pump prices. This time it's energy prices is the first thing they say, I've noticed. But pump prices, again, are such an indicator of what's happening in our economy.
Yeah.
And these sorts of things. And, when I've worked with lots of good backbench Tories, and they were very good people like Robert Halfon, as you know.
Yes, yes.
And Craig McKinley and, the Bionic Lord. Those
McKinley now, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm working very closely with Lewis Cocking at the moment. He's a MP. And he's a good guy. And still Priti Patel and what's her name?
Penny Morton.
Yeah, Philip Davis. Well, Penny Morton's gone, isn't she? But Philip Philip Davis's wife. What's her name? Esther McVeigh. People like
Scouser. Fellow Scouser.
Yeah, well, yes, right. I mean, Philip Davis lost his seat, and he had a double heart transplant or things going through. He's a good friend. But the point is, the Tories have lost their way. They should be shouting for 37 to 42 million drivers, rather than actually, and Rupert gets it because he's got 40 businesses and he's got a lot of transport people, white van mans. He's got loads of those on his payroll.
A minute ago, Howard, you were talking about dubious people stood out in the streets. I believe our exec producer has got a clip of two not so dubious gentlemen stood out in the streets of London. Roll VT, Errol.
Lane. I mean, this epitome.
Hello, my name is Howard Cox. I'm the founder of the FairFuelUK campaign, and I'm really delighted that I'm becoming the transport spokesman for Restore Britain.
Howard, here we are in the middle of Sadiq Khan's war zone. Rubble, parking suspensions, traffic down to one lane. I mean, this epitomises modern Britain, doesn't it?
Absolutely right, Rupert, and it's sad. I've been campaigning for 17 years on behalf of the motorists, and it's the anti-driver policies from a succession of governments, including the Tories, continues, at a rate that really drivers are fed up to the back teeth. What I get fed up with is no party understands the commercial heartbeat of any economy is the driver, especially diesel drivers, and they're the ones penalised the most. We're still the highest tax drivers in the world, despite having a frozen tax for the last 17 years.
Well, Howard, this is why it's good news that you're going to join Restore Britain as our transport spokesman. So it's taken a while to reach this landing, but I'm delighted you're joining us because, like you, everything you've done for Fair Fuel, to your credit, is, in my view, incredibly valuable. And you've done it for a long time. So it's a case of watch what the hands are doing, not what the mouth is saying. Well, you've done a lot with your hands. I'm with you. I run multiple businesses, and I see drivers who are basically treated like second-class citizens by a state which has lost sight of what actually drives the economy and what drives freedom, what drives individuality. And I think the driver needs to be put at the top of the agenda, not left at the bottom of the agenda. We need 20-mile-an-hour limits scrapped unless it's absolutely crucial, so only in vulnerable areas where we need 20 miles an hour. I mean, we need to release people from the manacles of the state, and I think what you've been doing is fantastic, and I'm delighted you're joining us. So you're going to be our transport spokesman, so you better start speaking.
The first thing I know, I've been doing this for 17 years, and I've been involved with the Treasury, and they even admit to me they have at the top of their agenda the motorists. How much more can we fleece them? Screw them. That's the attitude. Instead of actually seeing them as an incentive to developing GDP and the growth in the economy, they see them as an easy way to pocket cash.
Well, that's always been the case, hasn't it? Yeah. And without, though, people moving freely, without them trading freely, without white van man, who effectively, in my view, drives most of the economy, this country is going to suffer. And we're already seeing it economically. We're seeing it in the amount of national debt we've got. And I think it's time now to effectively remove all of these fetters and let people live their lives and get on with their lives and travel freely and basically generate wealth, which is what it's all about.
Well, I'm excited to joining Restore and talking about the transport, which is related to cost of living, net zero, you name it, all these sorts of things. And we mustn't forget the car is a safe place to, driving around London at the moment, you're safer in the car than taking the tube at the moment. It's that sort of stupidity at the moment. Yeah. So if we can join, the dots up from actually being secure safety and the cost of living, get that right, I promise you that, people will follow Restore, and I'm looking forward to helping them do that.
The cyclists are moving faster than the drivers in London these days, Howard. I think I said to you earlier that I was on my way to Parliament the other day, and I one of the lights, the cameras, was set off by a cyclist who was going faster than I was because I was obeying the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. So the whole thing's gone mad. They go through the lights. I have nothing against cyclists. I was using an e-bike the other day.
They're fantastic.
And they're incredibly efficient tools. But I think it's time now we effectively respected drivers, we treated them properly, and we liberated them. And hopefully all your Fair Fuel subscribers will join Restore Britain and help us to push the cause.
Well, if you actually are the mouthpiece in Parliament for drivers, I promise you they will. And I look forward to working with you on that.
We will be.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
I couldn't have said anything better. That you've got a man there who's probably one of the most effective MPs there's ever been. You think of his child rape gang inquiry, with Sammy Woodhouse, which I've been not involved with, but I've been party on the side and watching it develop with him.
Yeah.
And you heard him say it's taken some time for you to do it. My only reservation has always been this racist, ethno-nationalist sort of flag that's been put allied to Restore, which has obviously been embellished by much of the media and certainly by Reform. And there are some young Turks in there that really need to shut their mouths up and actually recognise that. And if you look at, this is interesting actually with Restore. They've got policies out. You should see their economic policies. One of them I don't agree with. They want to get rid of the triple lock, but because us pensioners, that's not good news. but it makes sense of how they're going to work it through, and if you see it. But they've done the immigration policy, and they've done the net zero policy. I'm coming out with the transport policy, which again I want you involved with. I mean that very much. It's a shame that I can't make Tuesday. You send me the link. If you're lovely, if I can, I do. I always look at it and think, oh shit, I can't make it. But going back to Rupert, you're looking at a man that is true to his word, and you've probably seen certain things going on recently that his legal issues with Nigel. That's going to get quite serious, and all I can say to you is from this, hear it from sort of some part of the horse's mouth. I think Reform are going to implode big time.
It really depresses me because when you look at the political situation in this country, as far as I can see, I stuck my principles in a stick in the ground, 35, 40 years ago. When I first started voting, my views haven't changed since then. But what has happened is all the other political parties have in fact moved. Well, you can characterize it as far left, but actually I think it's worse than that, because far left and far right are the same. If you were under Stalin or under Hitler, it doesn't make any bloody difference. Far left and far right are the same. They're totalitarian. And I've stuck me libertarian stick in the ground, and they've all gone off there. Totalitarian. That's what we're up against. All of these policies are about withdrawing your freedom to go where you want to go, freedom to associate with who you want to associate with, freedom to say what you believe, and freedom to think it even now these days. So it's all about compression of individual liberty and freedom, and we've got to reclaim that ground. And all that's happened is that the Tories and the Lib Dems have toadied with this, and they're off there somewhere now. Their conception of what's right and what's moral is completely off kilter, and they need to be brought back to a central position, which is where we've been ever since this all started.
Well,
we're characterised as far right.
I'm with you, Brian, totally on that. I haven't moved. I believe in a nation that looks after its own who can't look after themselves. I believe in a nation that incentivises entrepreneurs. I believe in low taxation. I believe in strong borders.
Low levels of state interference.
It's very
get
simple.
Out of our way. Help us where we need it. Otherwise, get off the playing field and leave us to get on with it.
Exactly. I don't even look at it in terms of politics. For me, it's what's common sense to me. And if it's common sense to me, then where that aligns to, well, it's by default. I'm that politically way inclined. But it's the politics doesn't come first and foremost. It's what sits right with me. And I just think that there's a quiet majority out there that are totally against everything that's going on in this country at the moment. I mean, today, on this day of recording, we've had announced today about this leaflet that's handed out to everybody that lands on the shores about You can't have sex with children, and raping isn't a good thing. This is literally what this leaflet is about.
I've seen it. I've actually commented it on it for something. I did something on the radio this morning about it.
Isn't it crazy, Howard? It's absolutely mental.
Well, what that is an admission by the government that there is a problem, and that's why they've got to try and stop it. You know, the only thing that is surprising, they actually printed it in English, not in
multiple languages.
But maybe that's the come. I don't know. But you two are sensible, decent, honest people. You don't demand much from this nation. You contribute to the country, and at the end of the day, what we've got here at the moment is that the right is so bloody fragmented.
Yes,
which is, the unite the right. It's become a cliche, but I've tried to, with Ben Habib, with Reform, with Nigel, and now with Rupert. 3 people that I'd love to see actually working together.
You feel like you need to knock their heads together and say, look, work together or we're cooked.
This is the problem.
But Rupert did actually offer 5 red lines. I was in his lovely farmhouse at the time when that was being issued on that day. We went through it, and I agree with all 5, with some reservations about the death penalty, because but it is only a referendum. It's not actually saying we should introduce it. And I think overall, especially when you've got unadulterated, indubitable evidence, like the 3 girls who were killed by that Southport twat. That person needs to take an injection. Bye bye. We don't need you.
Absolutely. When it's absolutely irrefutable, then
But that's the problem. Is how that is defined and how that happens. But that's the way that referendum is presented will dictate why I support it. I'm in favour of getting rid of definitely 100% definite, criminals who have actually done that sort of thing. The other 4 things are just common sense again. It's just what you said, Paul. I think you're right. Common sense is being thrown out the window, and there's too many egos flying around. He said that, I didn't say that. And I'm proud to be one of that lot. As you've probably seen with some of the things on marches I've worn. I've worn a gilet type thing around me, and on the back of it, proud to be one of that lot. And these are people I was close to, Richard Tice, and Nigel, and I can go Lee Anderson. All these people. I remember Lee Anderson said to me after the London mayor election, he sent me a text, Howard, you are a credit to the party. And and last week I bumped into him and he just walked past me, ignored me. That's how petty these people are. And it's so sad. And that's why, Rupert didn't like putting that 5 because as I say, he's been accused of bullying, abuse, violence. They came in, with about 12 police to remove his guns. And that sort of thing. I've known him for a bit, and all I know, that man is the most honourable person, and there's not a bad or a racist bone in his body, and all he cares about is he doesn't need to do this. He's a multi-millionaire. This sort of thing. He gives his salary away to the charities in Great Yarmouth, and that sort of thing. And his exact words about the Turks around him, these guys that shoot a bit too much, too right wing. In terms of getting rid of people, because my wife was born in Kenya, and under some of the things they said, they want to throw my wife out, and she's born to 2 Yorkshiremen in Kenya in 1954. So, that's the sort of thing which is, and I said to Rupert, can you tell me, he looked me straight in the face, Howard, I am a civic nationalist. All I care about is that the people who shouldn't be here and came here illegally, they should go. And secondly, all of the criminals that are in our prison that shouldn't be here, foreign criminals, they should go. And I went, okay, I'm with you.
I've had this idea for ages about this boat situation, which we should do. We never mind taking them back to France because they'll just come back across again. We need to take a few old cruise liners out of service, station them in the channel, pull all these boats to the cruise boat, fill it up till it's full to the gunnels, and then sail it to Rwanda or somewhere, so that they'd have to come all the way back through Africa, all the way around Europe, and that would stop it. 2 cruise boats full of them sent back to somewhere with a similar ethnic and religious orientation to what they have. You know, they might think, oh, we'll just stay here because it's easier than going all the way back to Britain and then being brought back again on a cruise liner.
It's actually easier than that, though, isn't it? It's not about sticking them on a boat. If you stop the incentives, they won't come.
No, yeah, well,
that's the point.
Yeah. If they know they're going to come to a life that's better than what they've got, they're going to come. They're going to risk it. And
it's the Dick Whittington principle.
You can smash all the gangs you want. It doesn't matter whether the gangs are helping them or not. If they want to come, they'll come because of the incentives.
Yeah.
Simple.
And there's a hell of a lot of them actually driving around in sort of DPD type vans as well, without licenses. How did someone from Somalia, someone delivered something to me the other day, and I said, where are you from? He said, Somalia. I said, how long have you been here? He said, I've been here 4 months. I said, you got a driving license? He said, yes.
He would say that, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
And I said, well, he was very polite. He was nice. At least he's trying to do is get a job and contribute. And I'll give him that. But at the end of the day, you know, we got to get. I mean, Paul, you've got it spot on. What a lovely place. Come here to get a house. You know, get all your dentist and your medical help for free.
And a mobile phone in a hotel to stay in until that happens.
Yeah, and a load of cash as well to go with it. Yeah. And by the way, you can bring your family with you if you want. Yeah. You know,
and what's this latest way of dealing with it is, oh well, instead of stopping them from coming in, instead of disincentivizing them, what we're going to do now is we're going to let every town have somebody. So, you know, we're going to spread it to the wealthier, more affluent areas.
Yeah, so, it's going to be like Piddington is the place called in Oxfordshire, where they were going to put.
Yeah. Oh,
the migrants outnumber the local residents by about 6-1 or something.
Yeah. But this all comes down to the left. I mean, we used to talk about levelling up. It's now all about levelling down. And it's all about subjugation.
Well, Margaret Thatcher said, you know, the big problem with socialism is it keeps working until it runs out of other people's money.
Yeah.
Well, the point is we got to get. I mean, I do various protests in Crowborough. It's quite close to me. I got married in Crowborough, and I know that. And your point about Piddington is very valid. I mean, it's 350 in the village, and they're bringing in 1,250. And you know, it's happening. In fact, just in my plot, I live in Cranbrook in Kent, and I was talking to a very nice lady who runs a news agent in my village, and she's saying, "Have you seen who's moved in over that flat above the? I don't know if it's the butchers or the dentist. I can't remember now. But anyway, she said there's 6 people, you know, just been shipped in at 3 o'clock in the night, and they're in a flat that's only got 1 bedroom. You know, excuse me, who are? No one was asked. No one's consulted.
Yeah.
I think it's time that they realised, they woke up and realised that this whole idea of multicultural, it's dead in the water. If you want to go and experience another culture, you can go on holiday for 2 weeks to somewhere. Don't sort of bring it here and expect it to sort of dilute and water down what we are as a nation.
The important thing to understand is that I am pro-immigration, provided they contribute and they're not a drain on the economy.
Exactly.
As that.
Yeah, regulated, and we know who they are, where they've come from, why they're here, and they contribute. Absolutely.
And anybody who comes across in a dinghy and throws his ID over the side, he's one of the first ones to go back, because we don't even know who he is or what his antecedents are. So
that's the problem, isn't it? Identify where they're coming from.
Sling your up, mate, as they used to say where I grew up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's really where I am now at the moment. And as I say, I'm going to be contacting you in the next week or two about certain aspects of, you know, the headlines of the actual report. I'm getting a pretty free hand on this at the moment in time. I expect Rupert might want to put a few more stronger things in it. I know what he's like.
Like I say, I've got a 2 to 3 pager that I think encapsulates how road safety policy should be run. Okay.
Well, I look forward to that, and I'm sure it'll be a good one. So, as you know, we've always worked together in these sorts of things.
Absolutely,
But obviously, on October the 28th, we've got a budget. And my focus is going to be very much leading up to that. Obviously, I actually got a feeling, judging by, because you know I've been cancelled by the Sun now because I supported Tommy, and it's an irony really, because they first nearly cancelled me when I started to. Well, I stood for reform as London Mayor. You know, before that I was getting £1,000 an article for them. You know, which was great. But now, as soon as they were saying he's a snake oil salesman. You can't trust him. He's a crook. He's a fraud. And now they're giving double take.
That's almost every politician in British politics. When you look at the situation,
yeah. But this is the problem we have. The mainstream media. That's why I'm very close to people like Dan Wootton.
Yes.
And even Paul Thorpe, even though he's a bit annoyed with me joining Restore at the moment, and same with Richard Inman and Mayor Toosey, and there's loads of good people. The message is getting out there, and with me being announced on Monday or Tuesday, whenever I was announced, I couldn't believe I must have had 5,000 or 6,000 comments on various Facebook and saying, and in the main, it was great news. Well done. This is good news. We need that. And Rupert's supporting base and his popularity is growing exponentially. It really is.
Yes.
And whereas the infighting that's happening in reform, which is so sad because I believed in reform. I thought this is it. We've got the right party 2 years ago. But I'm afraid what they're doing, what they're saying, they're going back on things. Like the benefit of two people. The kids and whatever, having two kids and all those sorts of things. They're not. We need proper right of centre politics, and that means getting rid of people who shouldn't be here, reducing taxation, and getting rid of the bloody blob to the side of it.
And then reducing the size of the state.
Yeah, exactly.
So the private sector can thrive, because currently the state is leeching off the private sector and driving it out of existence, basically taxing it out of existence.
Well, pay rises in the public sector, I think, are running at about 6 or 7%, and in the private sector, it's running at 2%. So hang on, and they're financing the 6%. The whole thing stinks, and that's why. We're of a similar age, Brian. I mean, I'm 71 now, and I don't know why the bloody hell I'm doing this, but I'm doing it because I'm so bloody angry.
Likewise, we're within a few weeks or a month or so of each other. I'm 72 in February.
Oh, yeah, you're definitely looking at a year older than me, yeah. You look good, mate. You look good.
Probably the best compliment I've had all day.
We're very grateful that you do, Howard. Anyway, we're very
absolutely, yeah.
It's interesting, that film with me standing in St James's Road with Rupert. God, I realised I've got to lose some weight. I think I qualify for a B-cup bra.
Yeah, but the hard thing is when you're spending all this time keyboard warrioring like we are, it's easy for that to happen. So I try to earmark at least an hour where I can, and where I live, I'm in a village. If I go from one end of the village to the other and back, and round the sort of boundary, which is sort of the airport road down to Teesside Airport, and I walk around, that's 3/4 of an hour, and walking that briskly once a day, it's good, and I think it keeps your metabolism ticking over.
Anyway. I do walk my dog 5 miles a day every morning at 5 o'clock.
Wow.
And I even do that in winter with torches, And I'm in the Hempstead Forest. I'm surrounded by deer, badgers, foxes, monk jacket. So it's great. It's lovely like that. And it's hard to get up when I think, I don't want to do this, but I get up.
When it's cold. When you think, I'll just have another quarter now with the bedclothes. But coming back to what you touched on before about working towards the budget and things, even ahead of that, what's been happening in recent months is about 40 countries have actually made temporary reductions in fuel tax to take the burden off the pretty hard pressed working man and woman. This government's nothing exciting, and they talk about price gouging by the petrol industry, by BP and all the others. But they're the biggest gougers of all. They're taking more than 50% of the price of the fuel as tax.
Well, I highlighted that since the Iran crisis, what happened, and the government took £1 billion of extra VAT in that time because of the Iran crisis. And as you say, 40 countries are great, and a lot of European countries and etc. Have done exactly that. And I've written I don't know how many articles about it. But the most important thing about it is the fact is we've done fuck all.
Yes.
We've done. This country's done nothing. Haven't done anything to help the motorist and the driver in that time. They love it. The prices of petrol and diesel rocketing up. It's not a problem. And then we see since the Iran crisis, you've got BP doubling their profits. That sort of thing. Now I want the BP and Shell and you know, to do well, because I want to continue to supply petrol and diesel. But the issue to me is that we keep coming back to, we need transparency, and that's what we haven't got still. And still, every government is scared to really put that in place. You know, I don't think you should control their prices. You just need to say, if a garage is, fleecing someone, they've got to tell us what those margins are, and then we can choose ourselves.
Now, I think
the taxation authority needs to take control of the fuel distribution network, because there's too few people involved, and they ultimately, by and large, control the prices, because they dictate what the price is to the guy who runs the petrol station, who generally is on pretty wafer thin margins. The retailers are not making anything much out of this. It's the middlemen that are making the money.
Yeah, further up the fuel supply chain then, as you say. I mean, bear in mind, this is the other thing that's interesting. About 20 years ago, we had 30 refineries. We're now down to about 6 or 7. I can't remember what the figure is. And therefore, all the fuel is coming from the same bloody places, and yet they're being charged differently at the end of it. You don't get that. You don't get that with milk, when you're coming from farmers.
No,
you don't.
Not unless you're going for the Jersey cows, in which case you might get a bit more.
But that's
Howard, I believe you've got another interview you've got to get off to, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got to get going in the next 2 or 3 minutes, guys.
Okay.
But
right.
Well, shall we reconvene in about a month's time when?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do that. When I'll send you the things I've promised to send you. You can peruse them, put them in front of Rupert, see what he thinks, and then we'll have a chat then and discuss A, what's developed in terms of the budget and things like that, and B, how you think we can help you going forward.
Yeah.
Well, help us all. I mean, it's not just me. Yeah. I mean, we're working.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I understand that. I mean, yeah.
I know I seem to be. Some people think I'm a bit of a maverick and I'm doing a loner. It's only because I just get stuck in and do it. And I'm not a great fan of committees. I'm sorry, and I respect you guys immensely, and I know what you do, and I do watch what you do, your press releases and everything, and I've got nothing but admiration for you guys. So let's work together again.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thanks so much, Howard.
Good. Really good to see you, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.
Thanks, Howard.